Call the meeting to order, we have pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call chairman's here, vice chairman Daniel Schoenberger, Robert Summer, Dave Bordner, secretary. Well, how are we gonna list Anna?
We'll figure that out another time.
Okay. The other person is James Vogel, Susan Drive, Vogel. I can't even read my own writing. Linda Christman and Roy Christman hiding in the back. And if we miss anyone. Oh. All right. Public comment. Anyone? Go ahead, have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Linda Chrisman, and I'm president of Save Carbon County, which is a local nonprofit environmental group. And as you know, our group has been concerned about sewage sludge being used as fertilizer on farm fields for a number of years. And one of our major concerns has been the fact that sewage sludge has been shown in study after study to have high levels of PFAS, which are carcinogenic, highly carcinogenic, forever chemicals. I think the half-life of them in the environment is something like 50 years. So one of our frustrations has been that the EPA has been kind of a promoter of sewage sludge for decades. They even invented the name biosolids as a way of making sewage sludge sound more attractive for years. But on January of this year, the EPA published a draft risk assessment, and it's attached to that cover memo that I passed out to you, an executive summary. Yes. They published this risk assessment after 3 years of nationwide study of sewage sludge. They took samples from across the country and analyzed it and so on. And that risk assessment marks a real turnaround in their view of sewage sludge. One of the things that one of the conclusions that the EPA reached is that PFAS in sewage sludge are taken up by plants and can result in farm products like eggs, milk, meat, and animal feed having high levels of PFAS. And that process resulted in farms being taken out of agricultural production in Maine. Many dairy farms closed down, and in Washington state. Which brings me for my reason to being here tonight. It is likely that farms that use sewage sludge for a number of years may have soil so contaminated with PFAS that they become unsuitable for agricultural use. We know that when you use state funds, you cannot put any kind of prohibition against use of sewage sludge in the conservation contract, as long as you're using state funds. But we are asking that when you use exclusively county funds, that you do just that. You put a prohibition against the use of sewage sludge, that you don't promote, that you don't preserve farms that use sewage sludge. I know that generally you're going to try to preserve farms where you can get the state match. But the state does not preserve farms of 50 acres or less. And there are an awful lot of farms in Carbon County that are 50 acres or less. And number one, I hope that you're not going to forget about those farms and that you will preserve them, because you do have this 10-year bond issue. I mean, those farms are under terrific development pressure, as are most farms in Carbon County. And when you do preserve those smaller farms, you'll be using county funds exclusively. And I don't think the taxpayers are going to want to preserve farms that may become unsuitable for farming in a few years. Thank you.
I want to make another comment about what you just said there. You're saying the farms under 50 acres are not protected. They are protected as far as specialty crop farms. They could be down to a minimum of 10 acres. You know, growing grapes or Christmas trees, or we just had an update on, must be about 2 miles long of what's acceptable and what's not. So those farms can be bought up.
All right,
That's
that's good to know.
But, was at the commissioners meeting here about, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? And I brought up that the commissioners should maybe approach Mr. Doyle and Ardle about this sludge, because by being on the chairman of the preservation board, I get so many irate people calling me about the biosolids, which my hands are tied because I have to go by what the state law is, and I can't really do nothing. The only thing I can do is tell them to contact their representatives, which I think they did this time. They contacted me, so I haven't heard anything further on it. Have you, Anna?
Nope.
No, Dave? You? No. So that's where that stands. So until we get a reading from them. And the other thing is, a lot of the hay people at the sales now are mentioning that their farms, 0 biosolids and 0 manure, you know, to the general public before their loads of hay are sold. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's gonna help, or I have no idea where it's gonna go, but they want it listed that they are biosolids free and manure free.
And our organization has signs for any farm that wants it that says this farm is sludge free.
So I'm just another salesman when I'm down at the sales. So I really don't know the people's names that are bringing it up, but there's quite a few. There's quite a few. All right,
One thing to add on to what Dick was saying, though, the state anymore allows 35, not 50,
Oh, it's 35.
Yeah.
they could get.
Okay.
all the way down to 10. Yeah, 10 to minimum.
It's special,
Yeah, especially.
yeah, not 50 anymore, it's 35, that's across state and county.
All right. Jim?
Times News.
How about Mrs. Kunkel back there?
I can.
Susan?
Susan Fry, I'm also with Safe Carbon County, and I live next to a farm that uses biosolids, sewage sludge. And, Mike, and we were fighting this over in our township for a number of years. And when we were fighting it, this was maybe 10 years ago, we started the fight. We had never even heard of PFAS and PFOS, like I never say it right, PFAS. We had never even heard of that at that time. So now this is coming to light. And I'm wondering what's going to come to light next that's in the sewage sludge that's harmful health-wise. And I mean, we had hundreds of signatures fighting against the sewage sludge. Did us no good, unfortunately, but there again, we just want, if at all possible, your input to the commissioners or whomever, put your word in saying, you know, these people are opposed to it. Maybe it helps a little bit. Go ahead. Oh,
I'm there.
Lee.
I thought you negated. Go ahead.
I'm Lee Kunkel, and I also live in East Bend Township. I'm fortunate enough not to live near the farm that Sue referred to, so I don't have to smell the horrible smell except when I drive down 895. A couple points I want to make tonight. First of all, I would like to sincerely thank the farmers who have the integrity and wisdom not to put human excrement, medical and industrial waste, among other things, on their farmland. You are appreciated, truly. Second thing is, a few years, actually probably about 3.5 years ago, there was a referendum in this county to preserve our the quality of our water, working farms and wildlife habitat. I had the privilege of being a co-chair, that's how you know me, on that committee. I had also had the privilege of traveling all around Carbon County, talking to a lot of people, lots of groups of people. And their main concern was the quality of their water and the quality of the food they eat. The quality of they wanted farms that produce quality and safe food to eat. A question that we were asked most often, including George Roberts from Channel 13, when we talked to him, the question that we were asked was, what happens if a farm is preserved and then the farmer turns around and puts human excrement, medical and industrial waste and other things on that land? What happens? It was a really hard question to answer. So we talked to people and you know, I can tell you, a lot of people we talked to, I could tell they didn't have a whole lot of money and it was an inflation. And we were asking them if they'd be willing to pay more taxes. And they did 83% of our taxpayers said yes. They wanted quality water and quality food. So, see if I forgot anything I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that's it. I personally would like to see farms preserved, not that the money from taxpayers, their hard-earned money. Taxpayers, I can tell you firsthand, I know, I talk to people, I know taxpayers do not want their hard-earned tax money lining the pockets of farmers who are going to put human excrement, medical and industrial waste and other stuff on this farmland and therefore not producing food. That's quality. Okay. That's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
And I know you people are bringing this up constantly, and I have to take the heat for it too, but do you people think that we could approach Penn State, Great University, and see if they could come up with an idea to alleviate forever chemicals? Or bring it down to a bare minimum at most? Do you think that'd be a viable thing to pursue?
Well, they are looking into crops that could be raised. I mean, you could raise hemp, you could raise Christmas trees, things that are not edible on a farm that's contaminated with sewage sludge. Of course, that begs the question of, are you contaminating the water? Which is probably the case. I mean, groundwater is groundwater. It's going to absorb whatever's put on top of it.
Yeah. 40 years ago, they ran a study, I think it was out in the Nazareth Bath area. They were having a lot of sinkholes developed out there because of the limestone. And they dumped dye in the water out there and it surfaced way down in western part of Lehigh County. I don't know if any of you ever remember that study, but that's how far it traveled underground before it came back up. So, you know, it's gonna pollute.
Yeah.
So, does anybody else have any comments on that? Oh, go ahead.
One other thing, the DEP has recently tested some creeks in northeast Pennsylvania, and one of the creeks that they found high levels of PFAS was the Aquashikla Creek in Palmerton. And if you'll recall, when they were trying to ameliorate the problems caused by the zinc company, on the, you know, the mountain was denuded of vegetation. They put fly ash and sewage sludge on that mountain. And Aquashikla Creek is right at the bottom of that mountain. That gives you an idea. That was 60 years ago? That gives you an idea how long this stuff lasts in the environment.
Yeah, I was still teaching it, yeah.
I can tell you where I live too. When they put the sludge on the fields and it rains, I can see it go to the creek right below my property and it washes right down there. And this is a tiny little creek that has no name as far as I know, but it goes right into the Lizard and then to the, and I wonder what's in that water. I don't see the crayfish in there like I used to, and, yeah, who knows, but it's, I worry about that,
It's
so.
it's a problem that has to be addressed.
Mhm.
Um, I can just say something really quickly, maybe not quickly. I have a few comments, to you guys. So we did discuss this with the commissioners a couple weeks ago, and they did put out a resolution that they contacted, Doyle Heffley and Senator Pickering about, looking into this more, having the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture or the Environmental Protection Agency look into this a little bit more. So the commissioners are aware that we have concerns about it, just us as well. And then another thing that was brought up at that meeting is that the PFAs and the PFOs are in the sewage sludge from a source, and that source would be all of the plastic that we consume and the medical waste that we consume. So a suggestion was made that you would want to go to the state legislators and ask them to stop it at the source. Because the problem is that we, the humans creating the sewage sludge, are consuming it in the first place. So that would be one of my suggestions. And then another thing that I would suggest maybe looking into is how we could defer it from going into the water, going into the food. But it's not something that we, as the county, can add to our program manual, at least at this time that we know of, to stop preserve farms from doing, because the state oversees everything that we do. So we can't do anything that's more strict than what they say.
Even if you're using only county money?
I don't think so, because they have to approve our manual no matter what, for the program.
Well, we have gone to, we are writing letters to the governor, and we've asked the commissioners to write a letter to the governor, and they've said they would. And I'm glad that you've asked Argyle and Doyle Heffley to do something. This is a huge problem.
All we can do is ask.
So, being a sitting township supervisor, I know Justin aren't familiar with it. But Packard Township, we have John Farmer, Clyde, right? The current supervisors then, they jumped all over it, said you've got to stop, right? Passed an ordinance that was tighter than state regulations. Gentleman picks up the phone and calls the Attorney General's office and said the township has provided a zoning ordinance that's tougher than the state laws. Took it, the Attorney General took it, ran with it. Township had to rescind their ordinance until the acre law is changed. Right, regarding the application of biosolids according to DEP. We're stuck.
Yeah.
With all the controversy with PFAs and stuff like that, and not knowing the source of the sludge, I think anyone using it should be careful and make sure they can do additional testing. I know myself, I'm not gonna jeopardize my farm, right? That another generation coming up that hopefully they're gonna wanna do more than ride horses. Hopefully at least they ride horses. But, you know, until they change the acre law.
Yeah.
To say the language there, everybody that's using it, that townships try to stop, or the municipalities if they're within the borough. They're going to the acre law, the Attorney General says, you gotta rescind your ordinance, no one has done to, you take them to court, you take them to Commonwealth courts, and they'll have to revoke the ordinance.
Yeah.
And that has been successful across the state.
Right, East Penn, I think, spent several tens of thousands of dollars to try to pass a ordinance, just like your ordinance. But one of the things we've been asking for is test for the state requires testing as little as once a year or as often as 3 times a year of sewage sludge. We've asked them to expand their testing and to include testing for PFAS because a farmer needs to know if that's in there before they put it on their field. And a farmer can't afford to do testing of their own because those tests cost around $1,200 each. But I mean, your point is that a farmer needs to know what's going on this field.
All right, I suggest we move on.
Anybody else have a comment on this before we close it? No? All right, funding update, David, or
I
Adam?
don't know, we need to approve the minutes for the last
Yeah.
meeting, couple minute. Oh, approve the minutes.
Approval of the minutes, let's have a vote on that here.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
I second the motion. Approve the minutes as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, let's go to the funding update, David, or Anna, whichever one handled the.
I'll go over the funding update. So what you see estimated encumbered funds started for the 5 farms that we originally started with. The old farm, the Mill Graver farm, the Comfort farm, Dagenhart farm, Eckert farm. After I go through the funding, I'll give you an update on those 5 farms. What we also have here is an estimate of what the Drockout farm is gonna cost us. And I'll go over then too, what's going on with the Drockout and also the Seller farm. To get done with this. So what I wanted to show you guys here was what we had remaining in funds. From these 2 set of estimates that I just showed you. So what we have is in the state is $563,198.03.
That's right.
That's state.
No, that's not right.
Well, that's what you have written.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have that checked. I think that those numbers might be off. But actually, what I have written down here, and this is the one that we should probably use, and I apologize for
Yeah, both
the
of
wrong
them,
numbers,
both
but
of them
it's,
the same, David.
the state is $888,690.16. Again, that's $888,690.16. The county funds that we have is $352,883.08.
Do that again, David, I'm sorry, they couldn't write fast.
Sure.
$352,000.
$352,
350, no, you were in the thousands.
$352,000, I apologize, $883.08. So the total that we have in funding is $1,241,573.24. So that's $1,241,573.24. That's what we have in funding from both, there's some money, I think, left over in counting from 2023, and then that's 2024 and 2025 funding.
So that 888,690 needs to be encumbered next.
Not all of it, we have to encumber roughly about, actually, pretty much 300,000 of that.
300 by this December 31st?
Yes, have to be encumbered.
Are you good on that?
Are you done with that?
Yes.
So have any more questions on funding?
So let's go to the old business at the bottom, and I want you to explain these to everybody. The Steel Farm, Miller Graver Farm, Kunter Farm, Dinglehart, and Eckhart. Now, there's a problem with the Steel Farm. Will you want to explain that to the members here so they know what's going on?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna go down I was working on stuff today too, so I'm gonna go down the whole list there. The Eckerd and the Miller Graver Farm has been approved at the February 13th board meeting. So that one's been approved. We're just waiting for the state to send back the agreement of sale and the check, and we'll be ready to go for settlement on those two. Okay?
Let's bring up the Steel Farm.
Okay,
I keep getting phone calls from John. I can't give him an answer. I mean, we explained to each other at the meeting.
yeah,
And-
all right.
But explain it to the other members.
So the state came back to me with a few things that they needed to have corrected. I got them corrected. I sent them back to the state, the answers to all their questions. And the only other piece of paperwork I'm waiting for is John is sending me back a copy of the signed agreement.
The steel one.
Yeah, because the state requires that the landowner sign before the state board. Don't ask me why they require that.
He's the executor.
So I need to have him re-sign it, and then I'll have the, obviously, Mr. Feder and Mr. Salter sign the agreement and send that back into the state. So everything's submitted to the state right now for that farm. And I am anticipating that it is gonna be ready to go for the April 10th state board meeting. Unless they come back with something else or something that they didn't catch on their first review, I feel pretty confident with that. But I'll keep Mr. Steele informed, and also if any board members want to be kept informed, I'll be gladly pass on that information. Okay? The comfort farm, that one is set for the 10-2. Just waiting for some quick paperwork that I'm gonna have back before the end of the week. I talked to them today, and the state board has already told me that it's gonna be on the agenda. The one that just came up, and this happened after we talked last week, was with the Dagenhart farm.
The who? Dinglehart.
Yeah,
Dinglehart.
what we found, when the state started reviewing the survey, the exclusion area is gonna be landlocked. So the state's saying you can't. You have to do something so that it's not landlocked, whether it be get a right of way recorded or take out certain things out of the preservation, like exclude some acreage out of the preservation so that it's not landlocked.
Okay, so have you spoken with the Dagenharts as?
Yes, I talked with John already. I passed on what the state wrote along with the information that I had on the survey for him, and told him to consult with his attorney. Cause I can't give him, I don't wanna give him any legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, but I think his best bet would just be to record a right away.
Right, easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, record it right away to those parcels that are gonna have the exclusions. So, given that that's probably gonna take some time, I would be very surprised if I can get it in by the April 10th meeting, so that may have to wait till June.
Anybody else got a question on Danny? Tanner? All right, let's go to the Straucher's farm. You wanna explain why it didn't close?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
so the Strauch's Farm needs a survey done for it because, Dave did the error of closure for the map. And it needs a survey done. It just wasn't closed enough. So we have an RFP out for the survey to be done for that.
Okay, so can we put a motion on the floor to award to the low bidder once the RFPs are returned?
I believe you guys did that in
We did
October.
that already.
Yeah, you guys did that in October. That's why I didn't like need a motion for you guys to send
Okay.
out the survey RFP. It's already done. But yeah, I sent that to a couple different appraisers.
Are there any other points that might come up that we would have to have a board vote besides the appraisal? That you know,
No, not that I know of.
nothing, all right,
No, there shouldn't be anything else with the
nothing
Strongest
that
Farm.
we could solve here tonight, move
Yeah,
forward.
no, I don't think so. It should hopefully be good after the
How
survey.
far is it off? Do you have any idea?
The air, Dave, what did you think the air was?
Oh, it was off by like 75 feet.
Wow.
It didn't
much.
flow at all when we did the traffic calculation with the deed. I mean, it didn't even look like the parcel, so I don't know how it,
Is it,
and I double checked my numbers like 3 times to make sure I had.
was that on the front portion towards the road or was it on the bottom end?
Well, it started up on the, so it would be the northeast corner when we started it. And then we went around, and then when we got to the top, they said, it told me it was off by like 75 feet. So,
Anybody got a question on that? So,
Okay.
all right,
Mhm, yeah, so we're getting the survey for that.
Okay.
And then for the Seller Farm, Mr. Seller decided he didn't want to get his own appraisal and he still rejected the board's offer. So that was just off of the table. So we're just moving past that and that funding that we initially estimated is back in the pot for the rest of it. If you want to say anything else.
Megan?
I think that's about right.
The numbers weren't right with the sales and we don't want to discuss it.
All right.
Okay.
The amendment to the bylaws, section 6, article 6(4)(a), 1(b), approved by state board.
Yep, that
You
was,
wanna,
that
you wanna
was
comment
approved.
on that?
Yep, that was approved by the state board at their February meeting. So now we can preserve farms down to 10 acres that grow the specialty crops and the sunflowers are on that list. So
Thank you.
it's a long list of the over 18 items as you mentioned. So,
I knew it was a lot. but-
yeah.
All right, new businesses, the farm rankings, for the money that's available, and I think you said it was 880,000 we can, spend.
No,
Yeah,
we add them together, we're at 1.24. 1.241. Total funds.
Is that correct, or is there still farms that have to be bought out of that yet, or is that what we have? to Work with,
what do you mean, Tanner, the amount of money or?
yeah,
Oh, the amount of money is what we have.
oh, okay,
Basically, you wanna do enough funds to go over that amount, because then it just gets encumbered, the last one gets encumbered, and then it gets, that's
So-
what come in.
We gotta get at least 300,000 covered before December 31st of this year.
Yes.
Okay.
we'll be doing that this evening, so just hang on to that. So,
The spreadsheet you guys have. We have that spreadsheet, so that tells you the farms with their rankings, their Lisa numbers. And so Dave has estimated that we could spend around $6,000 an acre and get 207 acres for that amount of funding.
what did you say, 207 or
So
70?
the first three,
207,
the first three,
in theory, yeah.
So we got,
all right,
add it up there,
yeah,
61, 67.
you're in the Lisa.
Yeah.
You're doing the first column
Here,
there.
I'm going by this.
yeah, the acreage.
You do by the first column.
Oh, God.
You said 207, that's 6,000.
270.
That's close, the first three.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. That being said,
611.
we all agree with that?
Well, the first, you'd have the first 4 that could be bought up and
No,
it'd be a little bit of a
the
holdover.
first three. The first three.
The first 3 equals right, exactly roughly what we could pay, right?
Mhm.
All right,
And how much of a balance you have left over?
Zero.
Zero.
Oh, zero.
That was zero. Okay. Before we move on. What have the commissioners allotted for this year's part of the program?
They allotted 250 from the county, 250,000 from the county. But, okay, you had an additional 25 or 26. I don't know the exact number, but it was about 25,000 that was added onto that of all that taxes.
Okay, so we're looking at, okay, so is that 275 part of this? Yeah, okay, there it is. Okay,
Part of that.
okay, that is part of that. And that is subject to state match this year? What? That is subject to the state match this year?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. That being said, I make a motion that we make offers, saying confirmation offers to the first three list on the list. Barry Fink, Renee and Keith Yaus, Justin Comfort.
I second the motion. I mean, this big offers.
Daniel?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So be it.
Select board.
So if that eats up all the money. And you said we have 275 left over.
No, no,
Going
That's
into
it.
next year's allocation.
no.
No, that's for this year.
It's all, you have everything intertwined here, right?
Yes.
Right.
yeah.
Everything's intertwined.
That does not include the state match for the 275 for this year?
But state match was already, that was announced in February.
Oh, so
Yeah, it
that is
doesn't-
part of,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
it's
part
in
of
there.
it.
Yeah, it's part of it.
what about the state grant then?
That all one thing. That
That's
comes
all
in
in
February.
here? Okay, all right,
Yeah,
all right. I think that was coming till June. That's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, sorry, there's a confusion there, yeah.
Clarified.
So you're still good with the first three on the spreadsheet?
Yes,
then?
yes, yes, yes. If we have to, we do two and then we wait for the third one for next year's fund.
Well, like I said, what you
You'll have
really
enough.
like to do, you want to be, you have to be over with it than under.
Right.
So when you're over, then it just sits there till you get the funds to come in.
Right, yep.
So.
Everybody in agreement on everything here?
Okay,
Speak on it.
all right, let's move forward there. So I make a motion that,
Slow down there, Robert. Just slow down. I'll bring up the motions if we have to. Just slow down a minute. David, you have anything else you want to comment on in the funding here?
Well, good.
We're all good, so. So the next fund that will be coming up for consideration will be the Robert Corral Farm.
Or if you don't get any more applications.
Unless we get applications in.
Yeah.
The other thing on the paperwork here,
Mhm.
people like keep calling me about Clara. Scope.
Mhm.
Now there's a lot of woodland on there. I don't know if that's gonna qualify with the amount of farm fields. We'll have to take another look at that, I guess. You have down here question mark.
Yeah, I'll double check on that. Off the record, I believe that we did take out a bunch of the woodland in order to make that qualify. Cause I
Yeah,
think
that
if it did have too
that's
much in, I
actually-
wouldn't
yeah.
have, that's why it's down to like 55 acres.
It's down to 55 acres.
Down to 55.
Yeah, so I think that we did take out a lot of woodland in order to find a way to make that qualify.
All right.
Then the stuff that doesn't qualify would have access to a road then, right?
That I gotta go back and look at, that's the new
Okay.
thing with the landlocked, with the new thing that the board came back at it
Okay.
with, we're gonna take a look at.
Maybe on the upper end then, in the northwest side, they'd have access behind Clara's house.
Right.
And up against Connie Whitehall's property, they could have access now too, but
That's what I'm
the
saying.
bulk of the woodland, I think,
But I don't know.
the bulk of
where
the
map was
woodland
drawn.
borders the nudist camp
Yes.
over there where you're trying to make those fields. All right. Anybody else have anything on those, those rankings? Bob, go ahead.
We have to do one more thing. We have to put a motion on the board, on the floor to send out the request for appraisals pending receipt of their $1,000 for the first three.
All
So,
right,
motion so made. I make a motion that once we get their $1,000 receipt, that we put out the RFPs for the appraisals.
I second that motion.
second. Danny? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Right, for the appraisals is done, correspondence?
I don't have anything.
No?
Just to clarify with the appraisal, you wanted to put an RFP out, or do you want it to just go with Andre's appraisal like we have in the past?
I suggest that you reach out to the appraisers that are certified in Lehigh County, because I have no confidence. Appraisers in Carbon. If you need, I can get you some numbers. I'll go out with me tonight. I think I do.
And as far as the, title search and stuff, we're gonna still use, Connie? When everything goes through.
But after we get the appraisal.
Yes,
you
I
can do the title
understand.
search, but I don't see why you would go again using Corbett.
All right.
Do we have, the title search done for the Straukases?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I needed that to get the deed and everything to check the Travis calculation.
Excuse me.
Who's doing the survey for Straucus?
I reached out to a couple different ones, the Andrews and just a few other contacts that Dave gave me. I haven't heard back from anyone yet though, and I sent that out last week.
Good. Anything else, David? Anything else?
Did you need to talk about this?
No.
No.
Just checking. Okay,
You have anything yet, Anna?
no.
Okay, and a call for adjournment.
Make a motion for adjournment.
I second that motion.
Mhm.
Shiloh, S H I G.
Everything